Molweni manene na manene kazi. Ngomgqibelo eJapan, uSivenathi Nontshinga uzoba nomlo no Masamichi Yabuki akusele intshinga yakhe yehlabathi ye-IBF kudidi light flyweight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On Saturday night in Japan, we're going to have our favorite son, Sivenathi Nontshinga, a special one, defending his IBF Junior Flyweight Championship against the former WBC champion, Masamichi Yabuki. It's a very dangerous fight for our man, Sive Nontshinga. It's a very good fight for all of us boxing fans. Is he going to be successful or not? If you're interested to see how we break down the fight, then stick around. Sivenathi Nontshinga has had his ups and downs in his career. He became a South African boxer to win a major world title in the least number of fights when he won a war against Hector Flores Calisto in Mexico, made a successful defense against the still highly rated Reggie Sukarnop here at home of the Philippines. And then, in a big shocker of an upset, he got knocked out in the second round by unheralded Mexican Adrian Curiel. Went back to Mexico and beat Curiel in a rematch, stopping his foe and starting his second reign as IBF World Light Flyweight Champion. But he's got a serious challenge in front of him on Saturday. It's probably in the morning hours here in South Africa, in the mid-morning hours as it usually is, because he's taking on an ex-WBC champion in Masamichi Yabuki. Now, Sive has got a record of 13 wins, 1 defeat, 10 knockouts. Yabuki has got a record of 16 wins and 4 losses. He's a bit of a more of an in and outer, but in those 16 wins of Yabuki, he's got 15 of them, all but 1 coming by way of knockout. So Masamichi Yabuki had a bit of a Buster Douglas moment, becoming the WBC champion in a big upset, knocking out Ken Shiro, and then lost it back to Shiro in a rematch, getting knocked out himself. But the thing about Yabuki, with all his vulnerabilities, he is a big puncher. And Sive, although I won't say he's chinny, he can be hurt. We saw in his final eliminator before his initial IBF title challenge against Cristian Araneta, who was supposed to be the mandatory challenger but got injured. He won on points, but he got knocked down in the final round against Araneta and had to survive that. And then, of course, there's a thing against Adrian Curiel. And I'm thinking of a conversation I had with a great Lennox Lewis months ago, where we spoke about knockouts and so on. It was more relating to Anthony Joshua, but he said sometimes it's where you hit somebody. And I've got a feeling if you hit, like Anthony Joshua, if you hit Sive Nontshinga here on the temples, he can get hurt. And he got hurt there against Adrian Curiel when they fought on rather even terms, and he pulled out straight. He thought he was away. He misjudged the distance, and Curiel banged him on the head there with a right hand, and that was all she wrote. In the rematch, Nontshinga took that away by taking the distance away from Curiel, keeping the fight on the inside. He was nullifying that. He was fighting well, but I think Curiel was sort of outworking him with that swarming style, and then he changed towards the end of the fight, put the distance there, and then he stopped Curiel. So that's a nice thing about Sivenathi Nontshinga, is he can fight different styles. He can fight from a distance, he can fight from a back foot, he can fight on the inside going forward as well. He's got a versatility that I don't think Masamichi Yabuki's got. Now, if we look at them physically, Yabuki is half an inch taller than Nontshinga is, but Sivenathi has got a reach advantage over Masamichi Yabuki. And if you have a shorter fighter with a longer reach, it can be deceptive. Now, if you look at Yabuki, his money punch is his right hand, and he can punch, and he throws it from an awkward angle. It's not necessarily thrown straight. It's thrown as a sort of a hook, as a loop, as a kind of an uppercut like that. And, you know, and when he's got you hurt, you'll flurry. He throws wider shots. There's room in between his shots. So if you compact, you can dive down in between them. You can punch with him. You'll nail Yabuki. But the thing about Yabuki is his punches don't go from up here. He throws them from the waist up like that. So that makes it harder. And I think there's 2 things about Yabuki. In his fight against Ken Shiro, the first one, Shiro was behind on points, and he went after Yabuki, and he got caught with Yabuki's right and knocked out. And in the second fight, he was looking out for that right hand, just changed his positioning slightly, and he found a home for his own right hand over the left lead of Yabuki. Now, that's one thing that works against Yabuki that I've noticed. Yabuki, his left lead is around about here, it's not tight, and if you throw your right hand over his left lead, just a short downwards right hand like that, you're going to know him. And Sivenathi Nontshinga is good at throwing that type of a punch. So there's already an opening for him. But he's got to be very careful of not getting caught coming in and not getting caught going out. So that is the thing. So for against a guy like Masamichi Yabuki, the key is you've got to be exactly the right distance. Here in the middle range is where Yabuki is going to be very dangerous because he gets leverage on his shots. So Yabuki, I think he fights well if he doesn't fight well on the back foot, moving on his toes, but just sort of stepping away and making his opponent come towards him and then nailing his opponent as they come in. That is his best sort of game plan. That's his best position in the fight. If he has to chase after his opponent that moves away and that runs, he tends to get very sloppy. He sort of leans in and he misses like that. He's got his chin in the air. It goes over his front foot. So I think for Sivenathi Nontshinga, he's got to be all the way in or all the way out. And I think if he's all the way in, right up close here to Yabuki, because Yabuki's got a long torso, with space in the body. But what worries me a bit, if Yabuki can just shove him around, and I think Yabuki is the stronger man in there, and start flooding like that, he can hurt Sive. So I think the key for Sivenathi Nontshinga would be to just jab to the chest, jab to the head, and keep on moving away from that right hand. Just keep on moving away from the Yabuki right hand towards his right. Keep circling like that. The opposite is what he did against Araneta. So jab, jab, throw your shots and keep circling away and make Yabuki chase you and then catch him with a right hand over the left lead as he comes after you, as he's off balance. So I think for Sivenathi Nontshinga, I think we're going to see a performance where he boxes off the back foot and he makes Yabuki go after him, makes Yabuki chase him, rather than being too aggressive in the beginning. So that's what I think might work for Sivenathi Nontshinga. We know he's got Colin Nathan in the corner. He's got a very good team there. His dad, Tembani Gopeni, is there. And Pumelela Kafu as well is also having a world title challenge that we're going to discuss shortly. And I think that way is a way for Sivenathi Nontshinga to win. For Masamichi Yabuki, he's got to try and go Nontshinga in, flurry with the shots to the body, and try and look to land that right hand on Nontshinga, the one that worked for him against Ken Shiro. So, and use his strength, his greater physicality, because speed-wise, and I think overall skill-wise, I think Sivenathi Nontshinga's got it on him. But Yabuki, to me, is definitely the harder puncher, definitely the physically more stronger guy in the ring. So I think it's a very 50-50 fight, this. I think it's going to be interesting. It can be a fight that may leave us crying here in South Africa and see an ex-champion once again. But my gut is, guys, you've got to tell me in the comments section, as always, who do you think wins, how do they win, and why do they win? And also, as always, remember to punch that like button, helps the channel. But I've got to pick somebody, and it's hard because obviously I'm South African. But my feeling is just Sivenathi Nontshinga has demonstrated in his last couple of fights, losing to Kuriel and then turning it around in the rematch, but he can learn from his mistakes. And he absolutely must not make the same mistake that he made against Aiden Kuriel in their first fight. But I think Siwe is going to fight on the back foot. It's not going to be the most pleasing fight. He's going to jab and move and jab and move, and he's going to move around the ring much like he did against Reggie Sugano. And he's going to catch Yabuki with the right hands as Yabuki comes in. I know Yabuki's been stopped before, but I've got a feeling Yabuki is going to go the distance. So I think Sivenathi Nontshinga is going to win a competitive decision to retain his IBF world title and carry on to bigger and better things. That's what I think, guys. As always, please remember to subscribe. And until I see you again, Pakamisani Izandla.